really why I was thinking, it might be just easier if we just got rid of this thing altogether. Oh, hey, what's up, folks? I was just talking on my Franco phone here, and we're just, wondering why I even have this thing around anymore. I mean, I have to keep it plugged in all the time. It soaks up so many resources, more than it actually serves any purpose for. And it's really interesting. I have to have all this extra infrastructure just to keep the thing around. I don't know. I think it might just be better off if we just tossed it. I don't know. Maybe let's hear from the audience here. Let's bring the chat in. Chat, come on in. What's happening, everybody? We are live. This is the live stream. If you're new to the channel, every Friday evening, hang out in here and do these live streams at 9:30 Eastern time. But if you're new to the channel, every Monday through Friday, I do videos talking about news, politics, things that are happening here in Canada or perhaps around the world, and love to hear from you. And this is why at the end of the week, I do these live streams to get in touch with everybody else that's in the community who wants to come in and have a conversation as a community as a whole. But here we are talking about Franco phones. Now, this is in the news today, and I'm not gonna lie, pretty upset with some things that happened in, I want to say, the last 48 hours. The last 24 hours, yeah, maybe a lot of people are upset. But in the last 48, I mean, it's just been a real kick in the teeth to anybody who, let's just say, has humored a particular group of people in this country for, I don't know, their whole lives. I mean, we all just try to pretend to be polite to each other. And, it comes to a point when the ones that are being polite all the time finally just say, you know what, you never were polite to me. You never were polite to me. And by the time that comes around, it's just too late. It's just too late. Some people just wait until they've just really upset the other side and just go, you know what? Why don't you just get out? And that's really where it comes down to it at this point. Why is the package in French? Why is the package in French? Is there a package in French? I don't know. Correct, Clyde. I don't feel polite about Quebec and Frenchy supremacy, says Kenzie in the chat. There's petition 4701. Is that the petition for the vote of non-confidence? Because, yeah, I've been telling people, go sign that petition. Let me just pull this one up. Yeah, that's the one. Let's have a look here. This 4701. This is the petition. Where are we at with this one now? We're at 150,000. Is that correct? Let me just refresh. Yeah, 150,000, 290 signatures. From what I understand, I got what was it? Rob Primo. He got in touch with me this week, and he told me, you only need 500 signatures for this to be addressed in the House of Commons. That's the thing. It only needs 500 signatures. We're well above the 500 signature mark. We would like a vote of non-confidence in Canada. Important, please read, sign and share for a non-confidence vote. Closed for signature on December 24th. Oh, I didn't know that was the date. At 3:09 p.m. Eastern time. Get in there, sign it. Get over there, sign it. And don't forget to, when you sign it, to check your email, because it only counts as a signature if you check and then verify your email. So that is a thing. We got to get those signatures up there, because man, are we at a point in Canada where it's just really something else. Tonight's show is a good one. I'm really excited about this. We got Luke from Market Mania coming on the show, and we're going to be chatting. I've had a few chats privately with him. I really like the guy, and I can't wait to have him on the show. So check back in for the second hour for that. We're going to be talking, and that's going to be good. Speak up. Are you not hearing me? What? Maybe you need to fix your volume. I think the audio is good. I'm looking at my thing. I think it might be loud enough. Names on list. I don't trust that. The email says no reply. Please reply. Well, you don't reply to the email. What you do is you click the little link to verify that you were in fact the one to in fact sign that petition. So we can we petition for Jug Meathead? You should get Chris Sky. I reached out to Chris Sky at one point when he was running. He sent me to his publicist and then it went nowhere. So what? He sounded like he was keen to come on. But that happens when you're in a... Oh, he's bugging you about your headphones, lol. I love my headphones. I have some of the most comfy headphones out there. My favorites, actually. I'm very happy with these ones. Thank you very much. To say that to those saying for Quebec to take Justin, he was born in Ottawa. No, but they can have him. They can have him. We're going to get into some of that. We are. Hear you loud and clear, Clyde. Thank you so much. I challenge you, Clyde, to speak louder than my music. No, you can just turn me up. Clyde, do you sell headphones? I do not sell headphones, but I'm a big fan of these ones. I'm a big fan of saving money, is what it is. So I'm part of a group share website called drop.com. Check it out. And they have Sennheisers. I'm big on audio sound and all that stuff. These are open back headphones. I like them because I can hear the room. I don't like the claustrophobia of noise canceling and all that stuff. So yeah, these are open backed. Normally they're really, really expensive, but if you get them through Drop, they're called the 59X Jubilees, and they are quite reasonable. They're quite reasonable. They're not your... I'm a Sennheiser fanboy. There you go. There you go. They're great. These are great. They're fantastic. And you can definitely save $1 if you do it through drop.com. This isn't a sponsorship or anything like that. I like the website. They deal in like audiophile stuff and also keyboard dork stuff, which I fall into both of those camps. I'm quite the keyboard dork. I just rebuilt actually my main keyboard. I know it just sounds like it is a chungus. It's very heavy. It's all aluminum actually, minus the brass insert on the bottom. Very it's one of those things. I don't know. I'm a mechanic, so I have the really nice hand tools. When I use my computer, I like to have nice things to interface with. These are my hand tools for using the computer. Anyway, climate chungus though. What? Climate chungus through though. Yeah, that's it. Anyway, Clyde is a keyboard nerd. I knew it. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. I've built other keyboards and all kinds of stuff. This is my like my what is it? My mobile keyboard. I haven't fully built it. I took the switches and everything out of this one to use when I went to Japan, and then I switched them all back. Yeah, that's something I do. These are the things that dorks do. No confidence vote was at 9,000 first that I heard of. Greetings. Unacceptable Fringe member for 16 months did something. Thank you so much for one-upping your membership. Gary Michaela, welcome to the memberships. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Where are we? We are gonna get into some of this because I wanna discuss this before we before the first hour is done, because I think this is gonna eat up the first hour quite a bit. I had a day where I kind of lost my cool on this one. Not gonna lie. Mr. Roscoe Pico with a $5 super chat. Did the NDP use the coalition knowing the Liberals would tank in the polls, allowing them to be in position for the opposition? Possibly. I mean, if the NDP was smart right now, they would start siding with the Conservatives. Not kidding. I think if they were smart, they would start siding with the Conservatives, because then they could possibly become the opposition party in Canada. This might be the case. The Liberals are tanking so badly that it looks like the NDP are on a trajectory, and so are the Liberals, that the Liberals will become the fringe third party. This is NDP smart. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's an oxymoron right there. Absolutely. But hey, give them a chance. They would be really smart in kicking Jagmeet Singh out, ousting him as their leader, get rid of him completely. Keep your cool, Clyde. That is your strength to raise and why some key politicians will engage. All the respect. Yeah, okay. Well, me losing my cool might be a different thing than other people losing their cool. So let's why don't we get into it? I just want to congratulate the French first and foremost, not French Canadians, the French, the actual French. Yeah, and I'll just say it, the actual French. Over there in France, they are taking to the streets and they are saying screw you, government, and the farmers are going in and they're dumping hay bales in the government offices. I'll have to mute that with the music, but there they are. Hay bales into the government building. Love it. Anti-price gouging, anti-government lies. Okay, that might give me some some copyright strikes there. Farmers fill the finance ministry foyer full of hay in protest of the increased taxes and unsustainable cost of farming supplies. Meanwhile, the French in our country are making sure that we have heavier taxes. That is something that they're doing for our farmers. Clyde, what if the NDP, Bloc, and Libs go together? Well, then they'll just get demolished in the polls. If that was their strategy, that would destroy them. I'm not gonna lie, that would be really, really bad for them. But here's a little bit of food for thought. This was shared to me by Canuck Musings. Said, food for thought, if you earn $100, then pay $33, let me just get this out of the way, and pay $33 income tax, you're left with $67. Okay, so of that $67, you buy $67 worth of fuel. And in doing so, you pay 48% fuel tax. The fuel tax would be $32.16 plus the $6.70 GST that they put on the tax. You know, the tax for the tax that they put on a tax. That's right. This means that the government just got $71.86 from your hard-earned $100. Share this. Let's see how much attention this post can get. But really, look at that. Look at that. 71.86% you're being taxed on fuel. That is directly how much you're paying for this stuff. It's unreal. It's unreal. When are we going to have a Boston Tea Party? I mean, the French are. The French are over there dumping hay in the government offices. This is the kind of stuff that needs to be done. Without it, I don't know. But what is it? Pierre Poilievre, you made an announcement. Oh, this isn't the announcement. I have the announcement somewhere. Where is it? Here we go. Pierre Poilievre made an announcement. Breaking. Poilievre, he's speaking in the third person for some reason. Don't do that. Don't do that. You sound like a ridiculous person when you do that. Pierre Poilievre to release groundbreaking documentary on Canada's housing hell. Look out for it tomorrow morning. So I'm looking forward to it. I am looking forward to it. I saw you guys. You almost caught me. You almost caught me saying a bad word. I didn't say it. But this is something that's gonna happen tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. We'll see what comes of it. But here he is talking about the 70,000 high carbon, high flying hypocrites jet to a gigantic air conditioned conference in the desert with the goal of saving the world from pickup trucks. Realistically, this is what they think is going to save us. The climate farce in the air-conditioned desert. They all went to Dubai to go hang out and talk about how we're doing the environment bad by driving pickup trucks. They flew there and they're all in air conditioning. Right. I don't even know where to go with that. Don't even know where to go with that. But before we get into what happened today, because that really is upsetting, we're going to get into what was happening with the Google farce. So Google, with Bill C-18. So Bill C-18 came around. I'll bring the chat back. Come on, Jack. Come on back, chat. By the way, chat, come on. We got 697 people in here. We got a chat that just died on me. Come on back. 697 people chatting in the chat, and we got 233 likes. Come on, we can do better than that. Let's get those likes up. Let's get those like numbers up, and then we'll keep on talking about these news stories, talking about what the francophones have done to us, the French. And here's the thing: I don't have anything against people who speak French, but this whole Quebecer thing, oh my goodness, this has got to be one of those things that I think Marty and I were both on the same page with all of this. Basil, the Pumpin' Seagull, with a $5 super chat. I'm pretty down right now, to be honest. It seems like that we're losing no matter what we do. No, what you need to realize is that everything that they're doing right now is kicking the can down the road to the inevitable loss that they're all gonna take. Like, this really, at the end of the day, is what's happening. But tonight, we're going to have a little vent about our frustrations with the one province over there that gets a lot of things and might not be written in the stars that will last forever. Here's the thing. There's a lot of people in the young generations that don't give a crap about what they've got going on over there. Their language laws, their one-sided, flop. Everybody give me what I want, and you need to respect me. Whiny babies. Greg D with a $2.79 super chat, nothing written on it. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. But here we go. Let's get into this. Because, and I put this out today on a tweet because I thought this was funny and I thought this was very fitting for the situation here. They say the French are known for their cheese, but I think here in Canada, it's all about the wine. Because I think that's what they do best. They absolutely bring that to our table because that's what they have to offer. And we're going to get into this because this is the whining that we've got going on. It all started with this story about Google. And I wanted to cover this because Bill C-18 is a big thing in Canada. It's a big thing for us. This is about the news being able to be seen on the internet. The government wants to regulate our internet. And in doing so, they created Bill C-11, which is to regulate the content. And then Bill C-18 is to regulate the news on and how it's defined as news. So one thing that is written in the bill is that the news shall be this. This is what the news shall be, and it'll be determined by our regulators who is news and who gets to be news. Now, in that, whoever gets to be news also gets put on a list, on a waiting list of recipients of a shakedown on social media. And the shakedown comes in the form of the government saying, you have to pay every time there's a link to a Canadian news site on your social media. To which all of them said, get stuffed. You know what I mean? That's pretty much it. Pit Sky P with the $15 super chat. Thank you so much. Firm handshake, Clyde. Glad you're doing something. Keep it up. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm just speaking what I have to say, putting it out there and getting some feelers, seeing what other people are thinking at the moment. And let me tell you, you're going to hear my opinion tonight. This is... Oh God, oh golly, I think we should be saying this. Anyway, so this was a shakedown of all shakedowns with the government saying, you're gonna give these companies money. And Do we know how much? No, we just like set a rule. You're going to follow it and we'll figure it out later. And all these companies are like, we don't know how this is going to play out. We don't agree with this. And how about no? How about no? Well, Meta, which owns Facebook, Instagram, a number of other companies, they just straight up said, okay, here's the deal. You want to regulate us? We'll comply. And in doing so, we're just going to ban Canadian news from our platforms. So Justin Trudeau, in all of his infinite wisdom, said, we're going to choose who is news. And then he basically was the one who got to choose for them to all get their stuff banned. Unbelievable. Greg D with a super sticker for $24.99. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. That's very generous of you. Thank you. Oh, goodness. Thank you. How do I get back into this? Greg D, thank you so much. So they just said, for us to comply, we have one of two choices. Pay the money or kick the news off our website. So kick the news off their website. They did. So that was Meta. And that was what they were going to do. Now, Google came in and they said, we're not going to make up our mind on this just yet, blah, blah, blah. We're going to negotiate with them. And what did they do? They said, okay, we'll pay $100 million a year. And then that's it. Go away. Government, right? Basil, the Pump and Seagull with another $5 super chat. I can't believe Google made that deal. It's either money laundering, a stealth donation, or Google does not have a pair as they pretend to. Well, it's a little bit of all of that. I think it's a buffet of all of what you just said. And let me explain. Jess44 with the $13.99 super sticker. Well, thank you so much. I love the Nintendo controller. Strongman. I love it. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that, Jess44. So Google, basically in their infinite wisdom, came in and said, well, it's going to be more difficult because they're a search engine. They're a search engine more than a social media platform. So there's no way that they could, aside from banning, like they would have to ban Canadian news, and they just want to be more accurate, I suppose, at the end of the day. But they also want to have compliance. They still want to have advertising from the Canadian government, blah, blah, blah. $100 million for what the Canadian government's going to advertise with them. It really is kind of a zero-sum game for them. They just get to keep the Canadian demographic for everything else. Really, at the end of the day, that's really what it comes down to. Basil with another $2 super chat. I'm agnostic, but God bless Elon Musk. Well, that's funny. It's funny that you mentioned that because, well, when it comes to being blackmailed, Elon Musk doesn't take this stuff sitting down. This is what he had to say the other day when they tried to blackmail him into complying with their whims, the woke mob, in order to get advertisement back on his platform. The advertisers are going to come back. You got to realize this. He can hold off, but the advertisers, they can't. At the end of the day, they got to spend their budgets, and they need to get advertising out to eyeballs. And Twitter is a big platform. Anyway, here's what he had to say.
I hope they stop. You hope don't advertise.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go fuck yourself.
But
I love it.
Go yourself.
Sorry, I had to bleep it.
I hope it is. Hey, Bob. If you're in the audience.
well, let me ask you then.
Hey, Bob. Holy cow, we got some super chats coming in. Let me just address that real quick. Nux for Cup with a $5 super chat. They also own YouTube and stand to lose more than 100 million there. Don't know if that's actually accurate, if they'll lose that much, because all they have to do is just get rid of the news on Canadian news. They just get rid of the Canadian news. Here would be a great play for Google. Just say, okay, you know, Fox, CNN, all these other US contributors, just start covering Canadian news. Hire all the Canadians to your companies, and then they could do Canadian news as long as it's not from a Canadian news agency. That's all that matters. It really is. It would be that simple. So there's a little bit more to it than just that. But thanks for the super chat. Demogorgon Ramsey with a $20 super chat. I'm from the shameful province of Quebec, and I'd be in favor for the Conservative to bring a motion that if you want to be a federal party, you need to have at least one deputy in each province and territories. That's interesting. Well, that would kick the the PPC out of ever having any sort of possibility of becoming a federal party, and also the Greens. That would be for sure. But that's an interesting one. Thanks for the super chat, Jonathan Allery with a $2 super sticker. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Thank you. But yeah, so Elon Musk goes even more into this, and he explains himself.
That's how I feel. Don't advertise.
How do you think then about the economics of X? If part of the underlying model, at least today, and maybe it needs to shift, maybe the answer is it needs to shift away from advertising. If you believe that this is the one part of your business where you will be beholden to those who have this view, what do you do?
Why?
What did he say?
What do you do?
Why?
Oh, GFY. F yourself. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Because that's the way you win this, is actually, you know, go hard on this. Now, they're not actually winning in this scenario, and I think it's this clip. No, it's not this clip. I have the clip. Oh, it's somewhere. Yes, this is the clip. So this is of course Rachel Thomas explaining why Google's not getting such a great deal and the government's not getting such a great deal out of this. Both of them.
Unfortunately, they're misplaced. Those local media outlets will receive very little and possibly nothing at all. Yeah,
so now they're trying to say that it's the local media outlets that are going to get all the money out of this. They're not going to get much at all, if anything. But it's going to be the government and the big players that get everything.
This bill has killed them. Big tech has colluded with big government to do away with news in this country. It will be less choice for Canadians and less access for Canadians. It's a shame. And let's not forget the fact that actually Google isn't signing on to Bill C-18. They've actually been granted an exemption.
That's right.
So, Minister, when you...
So it was payola. The $100 million was just a payola to say, go away, regulators from Canada, leave us alone, and GFY, I guess.
When you celebrate the success of 18, let's look at this. Facebook walked away. They're not carrying news anymore, right. So they're not under Bill C-18. Google...
That's not just Facebook. Facebook, Instagram, and anything under Meta. No news from Canada. Done.
That's the second one it applied to. They applied for an exemption. You entered into a backroom deal with them, and they got what they wanted. So Bill C-18 technically applies to no one. Nope. It's an absolute failure. Big it's time. A boondoggle, Minister. So let's be really clear about the facts here. But my next question is with regards to Laith Marouf.
Okay, so she's going to get into some details about one individual who says unsavory things, even though they said they're trying to get unsavory things to be a thing. Now let's get into what I wanted to talk about today. And today, it really is about Rachel asking a very polite question and them losing their freaking minds. I really don't understand this. Somebody please explain it to me why you would be so upset about this. But they had a hissy fit, and a little whiny babies all over. Little whiny babies from a particular province. Demogorgon Ramsey with a $5 super chat. Not necessarily elected, but having party representation everywhere in Canada just to sink the Bloc. I'm almost a big new supporter of the Bloc. Maybe not for the reasons you might think. Perhaps we should have a nationwide Bloc Québécois party, parties springing up all over Canada that are their main purpose is for Quebec to leave Canada. perhaps that might be a thing. Perhaps maybe there'll be a lot more people getting on board with Quebec going their own way. If there's only 50% of Quebec, well, maybe 50% of Quebec can go their own way, and the other 50%, the good people, can stick around. And, we can figure it out based on where the demographics of the people who want to leave live, and those demographics can leave. They can get out. You can just look on a map and see where all the Bloc are elected every time, and where the Bloc are not elected. And we could just go, hey, new lines on a map. That'd be fantastic. Why not? We could just kick you out. How about that? But let's get into why that might be an option. So Rachel Thomas later apologized in writing for doing what? Conservative MP accused of insulting Francophones by asking minister to speak English. Politely, I might add. Conservative member of parliament from Alberta was accused of undermining bilingualism and insulting Francophone Canadians after asking a cabinet minister from Quebec to speak English during an appearance before the Parliamentary Committee. G Meister with a $5 super chat. Can you please run a quick poll asking how many people want Quebec to stay in Canada? Do we have mods? Mods. Anasty, would you be able to put that poll together? Let's see if it's a possibility. If Anasty can do that, or maybe I'll have to do that. Engage with your audience. Start a poll. I've got it. Should Quebec stay in Canada? Capital C, small q. Yes or no? Start the poll. Let's get that poll running. Here we go. We got a toss up. It's going all over the place. We'll see where that ends up. Let's see where that goes. But yeah, I mean, if they want to leave, I am very happy to help them out the door. For conservatives to put question to official bilingualism is absolutely reprehensible. NDP MP Peter. Okay, so here's what's omitted in this article. That she pointed out that the liberal English speakers, the liberal English MPs asked their questions in English, and Marie Stange replied in, you guessed it, English. That's right. But when Miss Stange was asked by any conservatives, she would reply in French. And don't think for 1 second that I'm fooled by this. Not for 1 second. We've seen this time and time again, where French, when they don't like the people that they're talking to, they will play the French card. Oh, sorry, I have to respond in French. And anyone who's French in the audience, tell me that this isn't true. Tell me that this isn't true, because this is something that happens a lot. Even Marty pointed this out. I gotta pull this up because this is where was it? I had Marty pointed this out in a tweet, and I even grabbed it this morning. I thought I saved it because it was perfect. Oh, I'm gonna have to find it. I'm gonna have to find this tweet now. Everybody knows Marty up north. Joseph Mann with the $5 super chat. Liberals is no good at anything except its tactics to divide Canadians. Thomas shouldn't have apologized. Absolutely. Thomas should not have apologized. I don't think she should have had at all. Thank you so much for the super chat. Let's get Marty I got to find this tweet because he put it out there. It was perfect to the point of what was being said there. I got to scroll his whole Twitter now. I got to scroll his whole Twitter to find this one clip. Where are we? Okay, I have that other clip. Is it? Man, this man tweets a lot. Here it is. Here it is. So this was, if you don't remember this, this was from during the POEC, the Public Order Emergency Commission. That is the Emergencies Act Commission. Chris B with the 279 super chat. Hasta la vista, baby. Thank you so much. Oh, why does my chat keep disappearing? We've got Greg D with another $69.99 super sticker. Thank you so much, Greg D. Really appreciate that. Holy cow. Holy cow. Really generous today. Thank you so much. This scene was from the POEC when they didn't like these two. This was these are council people in Ottawa, by the way. I forget their names because who cares? Who cares, right? At the end of the day, it's really all about their behavior. So these two got up, and Mr. Miller, who was the attorney for the Freedom Convoy, as soon as he came up, they became very hostile to the point where this hot mic was caught when he asked the question, and they knew full well that Mr. Miller did not speak French.
And environmental and slights is confusing.
If you didn't hear that, she's saying, respond in French. Hey, would you respond in French? It would be better if you respond in French.
Is there, which one are you confused about?
I've already explained.
So immediately he had to go get his earpiece, and they tried to soak up time, valuable time in a commission that was looking for the truth. And this is where we're at. This is where we're at with this whole thing. It's ridiculous. And these are the kinds of tactics that you see from these individuals. And it happens more often than you think, even from people such as the Prime Minister of the country, Justin Trudeau. This is particularly rude of him. This was him at a town hall, and somebody brought up a very good point. The fact that, sometimes it's actually the other way around. Sometimes there's English speakers that live in Francophone areas, and they have a hard time getting services from the government that they pay for with their taxes in English.
Funding for psychiatry and mental health services have been grossly underfunded compared to the other areas of healthcare. Of particular concern in this area are services to minority populations. Most of the public services in this area are available in French only. It is only in the last 10 years that we have had a group dedicated to trying to help the English population in this area. I would really appreciate your comments on this subject.
Merci. Thank you. Si vous permettez, je vais répondre en français pour que tout le monde puisse entendre. Mais merci de votre utilisation de nos deux langues officielles au pays. Mais on est au Québec, donc je vais répondre en français.
So for those who are just listening or didn't read the subtitles, don't speak French at all, what he said was if the Liberals didn't have double standards, they wouldn't have any standards at all. This is where we're at. He actually absolutely spoke in French to a woman who just told him that she doesn't understand French. You got to be kidding me. Like, so we always hear about it. We hear about it as being this thing that's perpetrated against Francophones in Canada, but it's actually the other way around. It's only ever the other way around. I have never seen it where Francophones are being, put down or any of this stuff that we keep hearing about. No, what we always find is people being whiny babies and griping. And this is what it came down to in this case. Here is the actual question from Rachel Thomas when it came to this this meeting?
Minister, I noticed that you answer my questions in French, but other English questions you answer in English if they're from your Liberal colleagues. I realize it's completely your choice. We're a bilingual country.
Right. So she prefaced it with, you do speak in English when it comes to your colleagues that only speak English, and it is your choice, but would you be polite? Would you be so polite to answer my questions in English, please?
Questions you answer in English if they're from your Liberal colleagues. I realize it's completely your choice. We're a bilingual country, but if at all possible, I'd love to have it.
Point of order. Yeah.
Point of order. Point of order.
And of course, point of order, so that they could all have a whinge, and we're gonna go over those whinges in just a moment. Bannister Post with a $5 super chat. Am I reading too much into it, or are they just running out the clock, responding in French to conservatives' questions? Yeah, a lot of times they're running out the clock, and what they're trying to do is create havoc. They're trying to make it so, you know, they got to get their earpiece in, they got to listen to hear what the translation is. The translation isn't always accurate, it isn't always the best, but they try their best and do what it is that they can. But I mean, at this point, if the translations are accurate, then why do we even have bilingual laws? Just speak your language. Just speak your language. End of story. And then we can get rid of the fact that anybody needs to speak both. We can get rid of that fact. If that suffices, if that's good enough, then I think it's fine that anyone speaks whatever language they want. Now, this being said, they create such a big stink about this that the only place it can land me in saying is that anyone who speaks English as a first language, don't ever bother trying to speak French, because this is what they actually get at in this. Dave Edwards with a $10 super chat. Quebec has still not signed on the Canadian Constitution of 1982. They should have no say in federal politics. You shouldn't get the rights without the responsibilities, and shouldn't get our money. Absolutely shouldn't get our money. No way. They get so much. They got such a sweet deal. And why do we play this game? Why do we even play this game? So let's get into this. This is their whinging.
Minutes, please, Mrs. Thomas.
Thank you.
Okay, so she says her piece. Then they raise a point of order.
But our guests, I don't need to remind you, or remind my colleague, that our guests, just like the members of this committee, can speak in the official language of their choice. We have a highly...
You can speak whatever language you choose to. So this is the overarching theme that we get to hear moving forward. And because of this, I think that this is them condoning that anyone who's an English speaker to never feel the never ever feel the obligation to answer any questions in French ever again, because you don't have to. They're putting this forward, and they're putting it forward in no uncertain terms.
Efficient interpreters with us here. I use them constantly, so I can tell you that's the case. And the minister has the full right to answer in whichever language she chooses. This is an insult to Quebecers and to Francophones.
It wasn't an insult. It was a request. It was a very polite one to boot. But let's end this poll. What is the official reading of the poll? Where we got? Should Quebec stay in Canada? 76% of the audience says no. 23% say yes. The poll was completed with 323 votes. Now, we'll see where it goes. We'll see where this goes. I mean, I love these polls because they're so leaning in one direction. They always are. So this isn't like an actual don't ever take one of my polls as indicative of the entirety of Canada. It's just amusement. It is. It really is. Canada RV, you need amusement. You're getting amusement here. Another survey. Should all transfer payments to Quebec be canceled? We know the answer to that one. Come on, get out of town. Anyway, let's listen to these whiny babies whine. Listen to them whine. Let's give them a second to do this.
Sorry, I think Lisa was before you, Peter.
Yeah, echo chambers. You see this all the time on Twitter. You'll get all these polls, and they always go in the direction of the political leaning of the person who's conducting the poll. It's always the way it is. But mind you, if it's a big enough voice out there, like say Elon Musk, he does a poll, everybody participates in that. It's not just a particular echo chamber. And I try not to hold an echo chamber, but I do realize that a lot of people that follow the channel and listen tend to think along the same similar lines. Let's just say we're not getting a lot of whiny babies hanging out and answering polls. That's the thing. But let's listen to some more whiny babies.
Same point of order, Madam Chair. I think this is insulting. I think that we cannot request that the minister speak in one language rather than the other.
Madame la Présidente, je viens de poser.
That was the point of order. I think it's insulting. Wow. Oh, it's so insulting. Yukon J with a $10 super chat. It's ethnic cleansing here in Quebec. We are being forced to do everything in French. I've lived in 7 provinces and 1 territory. Everything in Canada has to be French. I'm sick of it. Tabernacle. That's the thing. I mean, it's really sad to say. Quebec has all this Quebec pride. We have a strong culture and all this other stuff. Great. You tell people French is a dying language. They'll say, no, it's not. Well, why do you need laws to enforce it? If it's not a dying language, just don't have the laws to enforce it. The rest of Canada is missing out on so much stuff from around the world, amazing products that we could bring in without the stupid French and English language laws. I don't care if even there's no English on the package. I don't care. I just don't think that there should be language laws. I think anyone who believes in language laws is antithetical to liberty. It's straight up it's gone that draconian that they have to police the words on a paper that a product is wrapped in. It's ridiculous. I don't care if products come from China and they got no English on them. I don't care. But that's oh goodness. I mean, there's probably laws that'll say it has to say warnings or whatever. Okay, comply with those. But if you want to make completely French products and send them to Canada, I don't care. Good on you. Good luck with your business if all you do is sell the French. But whatever. Good luck. I really do wish you luck.
So même.
Yes, on the same point of order, Madam.
This one's rich. I really like this one.
Madam Chair, I just put 2 questions in English, and the minister, of course, has the right to respond in whichever official languages she chooses to. To have someone question the bilingualism of our country is offensive to all of us. And I certainly hope that this MP will start respecting official languages.
This guy's from Burnaby. He's an NDP from Burnaby. He does not speak French on the regular. He's not. He lives in a place where you're more likely, if you're bilingual, to be speaking Mandarin or Cantonese or Hindi or something like that than French. You absolutely don't need to be speaking French in this scenario, except for the virtue signal of I'm offended. I'm absolutely offended that she asked that they could possibly speak in the language of our constituents over in Alberta. Oh goodness, why would you ever do that? That's so insulting.
And respecting this committee.
Points of order. Yes, Mrs. Thomas. Continue.
No, I'm on the same point of order.
You're on the same point of order. Okay, we paused.
Thank you. My observation was that the Liberal member was afforded the opportunity to be answered in English, and I was not afforded that same opportunity. I recognize that we're a bilingual country, and by all means, you can answer in either language. I'm just curious if you would be willing to answer in English.
Just wondering if you had some public decency, just wondering, just curious if you had any sort of decency about you. I'm sorry to be so disappointed that you do not, but I was just curious about that. Steve's Hyder, the $10 super chat. My grandmother used to tell me a lot that the Queen should have let them keep their culture. A bit harsh, but still makes me laugh. It was when she was helping me with French homework because you were forced to do it. I know. Thank you, Steve's Hyde, for the $10 super chat. But yeah, they should be able to keep their culture, keep their language, keep all of it. And what did that quarterback guy from the football game say? Keep your English. Yeah, keep your French. Keep it. Keep it all to yourself. Enjoy it. And if people want to speak French over here, that's fine too. I'm nothing against it. Study all the different languages that you want. Study other dying languages or dead languages. Learn Latin. I'm sure Latin would actually be more useful if you got into pharmacy work or medical fields. But yeah, I mean, there are all kinds of dying languages you can go study. That's fine. And particular dying dialects of languages that are still spoken around the world. Yeah, go for it. I'm by all means, the libertarian in me wants you to flourish and do so well all by yourself and with no help from anyone that's being coerced into it. That's really what it comes down to. Let's hear some more whiny babies.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Point of order, point of order.
Order.
Point of order, point of order.
I have to go back to the original point in the point of order, and that is that the person speaking should choose what language they wish to speak in. And if the minister chooses...
Nobody said otherwise. It was just a question of decency. Would you please just have the decency to speak back to me in the language that I'm speaking to you? You don't have to, but just wondering if you would. And the answer was no.
This is French, fine. If she chooses English, fine. We cannot make her answer in whatever. Okay, good. Minister, continue. You want to ask a question? Point of order. Yes.
Point of order.
Michael.
These are all hall monitors. Like, you remember when you went to high school and you had the hall monitors? Like, they all congregate in government. This is what they do. The smarmiest little people that you go to high school with, go back and look. I bet you they're a bureaucrat. I bet you they sit in meetings and they go, point of order. I'm so offended. I'm so offended at the fact that this person asked a polite question of another person who is clearly not polite. But we're okay with that because if we weren't, well, I mean, that would just so offensive. Just so offensive.
I think that the fact that the Conservative Party has demanded that a member speak only in English, to me is, it goes against everything this country has been built on.
Oh, big simpin'. Big simpin' over here. Oh, we're going to get to him a little bit later as well. Penny D with a $5 super chat. So was the we scandal or the we scandal like OUI? Hi, Clyde, and everyone in the chat. No, because if it was a French-Canadian we scandal, but pronounced OUI, it would be the wah scandal. So it was the we scandal, not the wah scandal. Unfortunately, yeah, that's the thing. Oh, can we get some more point of order, Clyde? Point of order, point of order. Point of order. I'm so offended. Oh, big simping over here. Keep your curds. I'm big simping over here. Is it Michael Cotu? No, that's Michelle. Michelle Cotu. Big simping.
When we come into this chamber, we have two official languages that, everyone's afforded.
Wow, it's not like she just said that. She said that. Why do you have to repeat it? You hall monitor? Get out of here. This guy was such a hoser growing up. We know it. Oh, you got bullied too many times. Now he's just got to be the smarmy bureaucrat. Oh, goodness.
And the fact that the Conservative Party is demanding that a member only use one language, to me, is just unacceptable. And it needs to be noted that, you know, that should never. A member only use one is demanding that.
Demanding. Hi, would you please do the thing? Please, could you please do the thing? But please do it. Please. Would you just be so decent? How dare you demand me do this thing? Chris B with a 279 super chat. MP Michel Cateau doesn't speak French. No, and we're gonna get to that because it's funny. It gets funny at how bad this is. It's so bad.
A member only use one language, to me, is just unacceptable, and it needs to be noted that, you know, that should never happen at committee. It should never happen, you know, in the House of Commons, and it's just something that goes against our very values.
Is that the first time I've ever said that? Effing hoser. This guy, he's a effing hoser. I swear, if this guy ever played hockey, that's all he ever did. That's all he ever did. Sat on the no wee man sitting there hosing the rink at the end after losing. Look at the sadness in his eyes. That's a defeated man.
It's Canadians.
Thank you, Mr. Cotto. I think I highlighted that when I responded earlier on, that it is a valid point of order, and the minister can answer in whatever language she chooses. Mr. Newman.
Okay, I have to move on because this is ridiculous. So it goes to the House of Parliament. The House of, and here's Big Simpin again, unsolicited, gets up and he does this thing again.
The honourable member from Don Valley East.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
I didn't get enough of my smerm in the committee. I need to bring it to the question period. Smerm.
Mr. Speaker, I'm a proud Canadian. I'm proud of this nation's bilingualism, and I'm proud.
Tell me if you noticed the point that I'm going to get to. The one point about this is special, the special smarm, but there's one point that's just, oh, so delicious.
Proud of the federal government's role in promoting both official languages. In the House of Commons, it is a privilege for me to hear both official languages being used. Therefore, I was both shocked and disappointed at the Canadian Heritage Committee this morning when a conservative MP asked a francophone minister from Quebec to answer her question in English. Could the Minister of Canadian Heritage tell this House about the long-standing importance of the official language use in this government? Thank you.
And now in French. You just did this whole thing. Oh, I'm so offended that somebody asked politely that somebody could use language that other people speak. Why did you do it in English, Big Simpin? What are you doing? Why did you do it in English? Perhaps because you can't speak French? Oh, man. This is just too funny. I like this version of Clyde. I'm just so fed up with it. I am just so fed up with it. It is so childish. It's ridiculous. And look at this. Oh, good. This is so good. This is so good. Watch how schmarmy the clap is. Watch this one getting up.
Speaker.
Who are you fooling? These people are awful. These are awful individuals. These are awful, awful people. Like, I don't even know how to express this, how awful these people are. Anyway, so Pascal Stange gets up and she says her bit.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague for his question. I'd like to start by saying that I'm a proud Quebecer, a proud Francophone. I'm very proud to be able to speak French. And I would like to remind us all that we have the right to express our opinions in the language of our choice.
It was
no matter
never
what
challenged.
The language the question was asked in.
That was never challenged. It was never, ever challenged. This is why these people miss the point completely. What are you talking about? You were asked politely to do what you do for liberals. When a liberal English speaker asks a question, you answer in English. When a conservative English speaker asks a question, you rudely answer in French, being a bilingual person. You're doing it on purpose. We know this. It's obvious, and everybody sees through it. So when you get up and you feign that, you know, you're offended. This is a slight on all of you. Speak French to your liberal counterparts. Speak French to them. I didn't see that. I didn't see that. Oh, it's so gross. It's just so gross. And we got Kenny Squanders over here. He plays the card unsolicited too. Get this. So you have Pierre-Paul Hoos or Oos from Charlesbourg, whatever, St. Charles in Quebec, who's a conservative MP, because there are some sensible people in Quebec. But he asked a question about economics, not about francophones and their offense. No, he doesn't ask any of that stuff. But what does he get from Rodriguez, from Kenny Squanders?
Their economic plan is a failure. The Honourable Minister of Transport. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to commend my colleague's courage in asking a question in French. It's not easy.
He's so courageous for asking a question in French to another francophone, to another French speaker. He's got such courage from the conservative camp, because all the conservatives hate French. Every time Pierre Poilievre comes out, he speaks French first. To me, that's kind of like, it's kind of like the crappy stuff on the plate that you don't want to eat. You eat it first. Get it out of the way. Get it out of the way, and then move on to the meat and potatoes. Chris B with the 279 super chat. Clyde, your acting here has made my day. Thank you. Oh, that's too funny. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad I'm not disappointing. But seriously, like, yeah, Pierre Poilievre, he gets up, he speaks French first. He absolutely does. You know, he has his turnips, and he has his broccoli sprout or Brussels sprouts, and then he's like, okay, got through it. Now to addressing the majority of the country. Sorry for shouting. Yeah, but that's the thing. But this guy's so courageous. I'm so proud of the courageousness of this man from Quebec, who happens to be a conservative, who brings his question up to another to Kenny Squanders here.
For a francophone in the Conservative caucus, and even though I disagree with him, all Liberals here will stand up for his right to speak French.
He asked you about economics. How about you answer that in French, you weirdo? Yay! They're all shouting, yay! Look at the courage of that guy. He's so courageous. Yukon J with a $5 super chat. What is this? Mundi Tabernac Coulissy Desti. Sacre Bleu. Semer JD. Semerd. Oh, all the bad words. All the French bad words. There you go. Oh, go ask Pascal Stange to say that one. Oh man. Hey, what's up, Clyde? Hey, what's up, Daily Events Worldwide? How are you? We're just doing a live stream over here. Let's get into this. So this is what he says. So the guy gets up and he's like, can we just talk about economics, please? Pretty please. Can we say something about economics?
The Honourable Member for Charlesbourg-Haut-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, to answer clearly in French, a comment like that, I'd like to point out that my colleague apologized at committee. Oh,
why do you even answer with a Don't even address what the Liberals even have to say anymore. I think they're so far gone. They're going to be voted out in the next election. We need to get that election coming sooner than later. Kevin Watson with a $10 super chat. E-petition has now topped 150,000 in a week. So don't be too upset with the parlez-vous le ding dong. No. I mean, obviously I have my, I'm venting about this whole thing, but I'm not that upset. I know they're going to get voted out. Forget them. They're, oh, wow. I'm just so frustrated with this. Seize the day with the 279 super chat. Freedom streamers, part of who saves Canada for us. Thank you so much. Penny D with a $5 super chat. I'm with Chris. You always get me laughing, Clyde, even in the point of crying sometimes. You really make our day. Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm glad that that's what we're doing here. First time caller, long time listener. F Quebec. You said it. You said it. I've been saying it kind of under my breath this whole time. That's where I've been. Anyway, let's get into this because I gotta zip through this stuff now. Northier than thou with a $5 super chat. Comment. Denebris étiez-vous? I don't know. I don't speak French. I don't. And I don't think anyone should have to either. I mean, if you do, that's fine. Denebrier étiez-vous? I don't know. I don't even know what that means. What? But yeah, let's move on. So where do we go from here? Because we gotta move on. I wanted to talk about what upset me today, because that was what upset me yesterday. Now, this has been ridiculous. Thank you for the great comedy tonight, says Jess44, member for 1 month. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Let's get into this because this was actually quite this was actually quite frustrating. I need to make sure that my stuff is going up on the other side of this. Why is that not working? Oh, of course, everything resets on me. Cause that makes sense. Because that totally makes sense. I've got a guest coming in, and I'm gonna be bringing him in shortly. But now I'm having technical difficulties on the side here, on the back burner. So I'm gonna make sure that this all works out, because I'm gonna have to get to talking about this story with my guest. But in the meantime, let's make sure we have all our technical stuff going on in the right places, all in the right fashion and at the right times and paces. But in the meantime, here's what's going on. I'm gonna have to bring up this page again. Sorry, my bad. Danielle Smith gets to Twitter and makes these comments talking about what happened in the House of Parliament today, because this one really upsets me, because I mean, you can't even walk away from this one. Like, what do you even say to this at all? Actually, like, what do you even say to this? Forcing the carbon tax on farmers who grow food and the truck drivers who deliver the food only makes prices at the grocery store more expensive. I'm disappointed to hear the Prime Minister and his Liberal caucus have created an alliance with the Bloc Québécois to vote down a resolution today to deny more affordable food to the rest of Canada. Our government will continue to fight with everything we have to end the carbon tax. Rick Yem IRT with the $20 super chat. The wife and I are very entertained with tonight. Well done, Clyde. This is just making our political system look like a joke. They are a joke. They are a joke in no uncertain terms. They are absolutely a joke. And I don't know where I would disagree with you on that front, because I don't at all. I don't whatsoever. I think what you're saying is absolutely accurate. They are complete jokes. If anything, there are a bunch of hall monitors that are now they found themselves in positions of power where they should really just be limited in what they're able to do. I would like to go back to the old days of very minimal government, where they just, yeah, sure, they have some power, the power to, I don't know, tell somebody, hey, I'm gonna call a cop because you went through a red light or something. They really, when at the end of the day, when you give the government the power to regulate your lives, what do you think is going to happen? What do you really, really think is going to happen? But anyway, moving on, Paul Mitchell on Twitter says, Western Canadians should always remember that it was the Bloc Québécois that sided with the Liberals to defeat this motion to ask the Senate to exempt all of our farmers from the carbon tax. Ottawa is rigged. Alberta and Saskatchewan must act accordingly. Now, there's a lot of calls for Western separatism in this whole thing, especially because... wow. It's the West that's getting screwed. It's totally the West that's getting the raw end of the stick on this one. Absolutely. And how can you blame people for wanting to either get out or kick the perpetrators out? Quebec has been instrumental in allowing this to happen. People are pissed. I put out there a tweet saying, amazing how Quebec separatists are the ones with the final say on how much food will cost to the rest of us. I wonder what would happen if trucks from the rest of Canada stopped bringing food there. I mean, that would be an interesting scenario, wouldn't it? Just if that were to happen. Also putting out, of course, the making food and heat more expensive for all Canadians. This is the Carbon Tax Coalition, the Liberals and Bloc Québécois. And of course, the problem with the Quebecois, the problem is that the Quebecois never suffer enough consequences for the voting for these imbeciles in. The rest of Canada has to live with it and pay for it. It's time to pass the buck. Maybe it's time for a levy on products shipped to Quebec to offset the cost of the carbon tax. I wonder if that's something that might be up in the pipe. We'll talk about this momentarily with my guest because he's very much in tune with economics. Eat Me with a $5 super chat says, Vesper Marty, the pleb, all from Quebec. Thanks for the third week venting, Clyde. The previous guy said, how drunk are you to spew all that schnit? I would like to say Marty lives in Alberta. Yes, he's a francophone, but he's very much for Quebec separating to go away. Vesper, I know, would be happy to come live out here. And don't forget Viva Fry. He's also from Quebec too. So that's the thing. Michael Kovacs with a $5 super chat. Quebec shouldn't even be voting on it. They have their own carbon tax, and the federal carbon tax has no effect on Quebec. What I say is, yeah, they have a deal with California for their carbon taxes. Perhaps they should consult California for their agriculture as well. Maybe they can get their food from California moving forward. I don't know. We'll see where this goes. But in the meantime, let's move on. I want to ask my guest actually this, and without further ado, why don't we just get right into it? And I'd like to welcome Luke from Market Mania. Welcome to the show, Luke.
Thank you so much for bringing me on. It's great to be here.
It was a bit of a spastic beginning of this stream, getting into this. You walked in right as I was like in the heated moment, venting about my frustrations of what's happening. And this is ridiculous. And I'm glad you're coming in at this part of the conversation because you obviously know a lot about economics, you know a lot about trade, you know a lot about all these things. And we have essentially a political wing of our government in Canada, and one that has nothing to do with the trade, with the, you know, the things that have to go on with other parts of Canada, especially because they don't even want to be part of Canada. They were talking about the Bloc Québécois, a particular group of politicians who are whiny babies, in my opinion, that want to have their way, but they don't want to bring the debt along with them or any of these other things. They just want to enjoy their cake. They want to eat, let them eat cake and have it too. Apparently, the old Marie Antoinette thing. But yeah, they just made a historic alliance with Justin Trudeau in saying the rest of Canada gets to pay this carbon tax on their farmers. So that what was being proposed was legislation to relieve farmers of this fuel surcharge, which we already do on diesel fuel. We do this on other things. Why not do this for them? Anyway, welcome to the show, and I'd love to hear your point of view on this one.
Yeah, you know, that's absolutely crazy. And it just shows how out of touch this government is. I mean, there's so many things that we can discuss that they're doing that just makes no sense. I mean, Freeland just came out with a fall economic statement, and buried in there, you'll actually find that she said she expects unemployment to go up. And they're still importing hundreds of thousands of people into the country. There's no jobs for these people, and even the government's acknowledging it. But here they come. Just come on over. You can live on the streets. I mean, it's just insane.
Well, that was something that I brought up just this past week, because like I know everybody's touching on all the things that are causing the housing boom, the housing bubble, probably one of the biggest housing bubbles in economic history, in the world history.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
I mean, apart from China's housing bubble, which a lot of people don't want to talk about either. But there's the elephant in the room. So yeah, there's pressures from all these different things, like speculative buying and bidding up the prices, really low interest rates for way too long, causing people to force to get out of any sort of savings and get into the market of buying commodities, which they all flock to housing. But the elephant in the room is the 500,000 plus immigrants that we plan on bringing in every single year.
It's just ridiculous. I mean, I'm an immigrant myself, and to hear these numbers with what's going on with the economy just makes absolutely no sense. And when you talk about like the housing bubble and everything that's fed into that, I mean, I believe that there was multiple things that really caused that, but a lot of that could be blamed on immigration, because if you've got a high amount of demand for rental properties, then that lends itself for a lot of landlords to become landlords, or potential landlords to become landlords. And then you can just speculate on the prices. I mean, it makes no sense in anywhere in Canada to buy a rental property. I've tried to do the math on it in like every city, and it makes absolutely no sense unless you're speculating that the price is going to go up like hundreds of thousands of dollars every year.
Let's get into that, because I haven't done that math, and I'm glad you have. So return on investment. And I remember this from back in, when I'm sure many people in the audience remember Peter Schiff. Peter Schiff was one of the economists who accurately predicted the 2008 crash. He said it's coming, it's right around the bend. Up until a week before, they were laughing at him, telling him like, get out of here, doomsday guy.
Dr. Doom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he accurately predicted it. And he was actually going to conventions where people were buying real estate property for rentals, and he was telling them, you're getting negative return on investment on these properties. And they're like, yeah, but you have no idea. The property's going to be worth tons in like 6 months. I'll be able to flip the property and I'll make a whole bunch of money. Like what is the return on investment, say in a town like Calgary, where, you know, there's already not enough housing. People want to buy the houses just so they can consume it. This is just consumption. We just want to get in the house and live in it. And they're paying exorbitant prices because it's all bid up. But like, to buy a rental property, what kind of profit would you even turn on it? How long would it be before you actually turned a profit on something like that?
A long time. And in this environment, you're going to be negative cash flow. So you're actually going to be losing money every month. So that is why it's part of the reason why we have a housing crisis, which is so bad right now, because in most cities across Canada, the interest rates going up has exacerbated this issue. So there was always a cash flow problem, and people were taking like negative cash flow properties on board in Toronto, Vancouver, all these different places. But what's happened now is interest rates have gone up so much, those payments have shot up so much that the gap is now so wide that it makes no sense, even if you're thinking the property is going to appreciate by, 10% per year, especially when you can buy like a government bond, or you can buy, I forget what they call those things, GIC from the bank, and you can get over 5% on that. So it makes no sense. And that's part of the reason why we have such no rental properties that are coming online right now. But part of the reasons is the prices have been driven up so high. And another reason that has fed into that is the high immigration, because that allows there to be a lot of demand for rental properties. So there's always demand for rental properties out there, even though the prices aren't even keeping up. Like, there's not even a positive return. So in Calgary, there isn't a positive return. I even looked in Edmonton because I knew the prices in Edmonton, they hadn't really gone up. They're still like, they've been flat now for like 15 years. And I thought maybe there's a possibility that you could turn a profit in Edmonton and do it. And you can't. You just can't. It's like impossible. Even if you're putting, you would have to be putting so much down. And then you have to ask the question, well, if you're putting like 30, 40% down on a house that's $500,000, why aren't you putting that in a GIC and getting like over 5%? Mm-hmm. So makes no sense.
Now, are government bonds even is that a safe place to be right now? I mean, we're at the most debt that we've ever been at. We're looking at, Chrystia Freeland will get on television and say, but we have a AAA rating. And because of the number of immigrants that we pile in every year, if you measure that against our GDP, it looks great on the books, right? And really, that's all it is. It's just the sheer number of people in the country that makes our GDP numbers look good. I mean, without that, it looks terrible. We're two consecutive quarters in negative growth. And they flub the numbers to say like, yeah, but if you look at it in the year over, we're like 0.01 positive. We're not in a recession. We're in a recession, like by all intents and purposes, by the clinical definition of what a recession is. and yet people are still investing in bonds. I mean, like, this is really ridiculous to me. I know it's not the 1% interest rates that they were giving, or not 0.1% interest rates they were given for so long, but with 5% interest rates on a promise to pay back a currency that is going to be worth what, like 13% less by the time you get that money back. What is the point?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't buy Canadian government bonds, that's for sure. I mean, I buy US treasuries, but that's really to do with the macro picture on that, because there's a lot of external demand for the US currency that's out there. So even though the US government is going bankrupt, and I wouldn't be interested in buying any of the long-term bonds there, I stay away from like Government of Canada and all of that stuff, because I think that there's so much risk that the currency does depreciate a lot, especially with the backdrop of what's happening. And you mentioned the GDP numbers. Well, if you strip out government spending as well, you are left with an economy that looks absolutely terrible, because every dollar that the government spends, so they're increasing their deficits, that means that they're increasing GDP. That's the way you have to think about it. Every extra dollar that they spend increases our GDP numbers. So if you strip out government and you strip out the immigration component, we're in like a major recession, not like a mild recession, a major recession right now, We got interest rates high and debt levels like through the roof. I don't see this ends well.
No, absolutely not. It's funny how you mentioned that. I mean, the analogy would be to, judge your personal finances and say, well, we're not getting a lot of money coming in. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hire a landscaping crew. I'm going to have them come in. They're going to, do a bunch of work around the yard. And then, I'm going to add that to how much we've made this month. Like, wait a second, hold on. No, that's an expense. That costs money. Well, I got more people working in the neighborhood. I got all this stuff going on. No, it's an expense. It costs you money. It's criminal to add costs to the GDP. It should actually be reflected on like a negative on our GDP. It's a cost to the taxpayer. It doesn't matter what the government's doing. If it comes at a cost, it's not beneficial to society. If we're not making widgets, if we're not making products and services and selling them to people in the private sector, we're not making stuff. And what's next? What's next? Are we Soviet Russia?
Wow. Look at the censorship laws that we've got being passed right now. It's pretty Orwellian stuff, Clyde.
It's insane. It's insane when you actually stop and have a look at what's going on and you compare you compare all this stuff. I mean, we got I want to ask you about this because this kind of segues into a bit of what I was just going on in my head, because I'm thinking about the end of Soviet times was not when the Berlin Wall came down. It was when the Berlin Wall went up. That was when socialism was a failure. And this is what they do. What they do is they'll trap you. As soon as they become a failure, they need mechanisms to keep the people in, because if not, they'll flee, and then there goes the rest of their thing. What we have coming down the pipe are CBDCs, and we have digital ID, and you can't have one without the other. Those two are the new digital Berlin Wall. This is what's going to keep people in. It's going to be the thing that, and people who do bail out, they're going to have to bail out with nothing in their pockets, just as people did when they fled the Soviet Union. What are your thoughts on digital ID and CBDCs?
I think they're horrible. I think they're really Orwellian. And the problem is you're putting so much power in the central planner's hands, then it becomes really dangerous as well. But I think the main problem is that the way they're going to introduce this is they're going to introduce this and it's going to come. It's going to happen. It's almost a certainty now. It's just a case of seize the next crisis. It will happen. But with CBDCs in particular, I mean, they're trying to do exactly what failed in Soviet Russia, which was allocating resources. That's what they didn't do well. And that's what caused the collapse of Soviet Russia, essentially, and the USSR. And essentially, the CBDC allows them, the central planners, and they think that they can do this fantastically. And obviously, we know they won't, but it allows them to allocate the resources. So for instance, if they want to do stimulus programs, we know they've been big on stimulus programs that we've had over the past couple of years with everything that happened in the pandemic. So if you've got a CBDC, well, now they can say, okay, we're going to give you these dollars, Clyde, but they expire, or you can only spend them on this certain item in this certain sector. And they're going to try and allocate resources based on that and boost certain areas of the economy. Supposedly, it's not going to work, and it's going to have massive unintended consequences. And one of the unintended consequences of something like that is capital flight. People don't like that. People don't like being told what to do with their money. And you've seen that with the Soviet Union. You know, how many people were trying to get out of East Germany into West Germany? I mean, that's why they were literally shooting people who were trying to get out, because they didn't want that to happen. And they wanted to state and say, you can't leave. And that's why they put down that Iron Curtain. But the fact is, that's what we're going to face and have happen. And you have, the weird thing is, like, other parts of the world are doing the opposite of this. Like, they are like places that are are authoritarian, like the UAE, for instance. I mean, that is literally a dictatorship, but look how welcoming they're being to entrepreneurs. Look how welcoming they're being to capital. Look how safe a society they are, which is just kind of crazy that we're now looking at different dictatorships and saying that actually looks kind of better than the situations that we now have, which is so Orwellian.
Explain that. So, like, for those that don't know what the CBDC stands for, this central bank digital currencies. Now, when you go to the United Arab Emirates, like, how are they more welcoming than like coming to Canada, for example?
Yeah, so for capital and for instances like that, they allow anybody to get a visa. If you're going to start up a business, if you're going to bring something to the table, you can go to the UAE. They've had tons of people. Business startups have absolutely exploded there. Lots of entrepreneurs have flocked there. Obviously, there's no tax. So there's a massive tax incentive from the start off. You know, the government is relatively small there, even though it's a dictatorship, and that's what people like as well. So, and now the problem is the West is doing the opposite, like I said. Mm-hmm. So as the West goes more and more towards central planning and authoritarian, all of a sudden you look at other places that are literal dictatorships and you think, wow, that's actually less worse than the situation we're in now. But the problem is it happens slowly. And people don't realize it, because when things happen slowly, you don't notice. Because the thing is, like, I go back to England, I visit every year, and every year I go back, I notice that things have got significantly worse. But people there, they don't notice that. They just think it's the same old. So things go down this slippery slope and they generally don't come back. And obviously we've seen things before, after the terrorist attacks in 2001 and everything happened there. You had the government come in trying to seize power after that with the Patriot Act, and that's been used in the United States. And they're even digging that up now to restrict free speech again. So, you know, these things, they're always using these crisis events that happen, things like what's going on in the Middle East right now, which, you know, people have different views on, but you've got what's happening in Ireland right now. And again, they're restricting free speech there. They're saying that you cannot say different things about certain groups. I'm not even going to mention it because I don't want the AI to shadow ban the video.
Right.
It's just crazy times.
Yeah, you can't say certain things about certain groups. And it's crazy to me how they just keep coming up with new schemes. Absolutely new schemes to get people, to like entrap people in things. I have this new article that just popped out. I've been talking about this for months, and they're finally going through with it. And this is British Columbia, CBC News. BC files application for Canada's first unexplained wealth order, minister says. Now, for those that don't know what the
hell is that?
So an unexplained wealth order. I had to do my research on this. I spoke to lawyer Wes Musio, and he filled me in on all of what this means. What it is it's a racket, essentially, where the government can come up to you and say, hey, you got a lot of nice things. How'd you get those nice things? And then you have to explain to them how you got those nice things, or else they're going to seize those nice things. So if you can't explain your wealth, they flip due process on its head in Canada. Absolutely flip due process on its head. They first came out, they were starting it with, we're going after Russian oligarchs. And then that lost its popularity and things to talk about. And then we're going after money launderers. And then we're going after drug traffickers that we're going after. Just give us the rules, okay? Just give us the thing so we can shake down anybody we want. And who are they going to come after, really? I mean, it's just like the central bank digital currencies. Who is worried about this? Who are the people that are concerned? Well, people who speak out. People who are like you and I, who are talking about this, going, either, you know, get your money out of Canada, or people that are saying, fight against this government. We need to change the culture here. We need to get rid of these central planners that think that they can run our lives. And they go, oh, well, as soon as you got that central bank digital currency, We can earmark your money so it doesn't work for things like train tickets or plane tickets or particular types of food. Hey, you're a little tubby this month. Hey, I saw you put on a couple of pounds. No, we're gonna ration your food. I mean, like, what length does it go to? I mean, it sounds so ridiculous to say this stuff, but tell me something today that you read in the newspaper that 5 years ago wasn't absolutely absurd.
Well, yeah, carbon scores. I mean, they're literally debating this in some countries like Australia, bringing this in. But it's just going to be a score to start off with. It's not going to affect anything.
Oh yeah,
but
there's
we're
no
just going
reason
to roll
for
out
it.
this CBDC. Yeah.
It's just a feel-good thing.
There's no reason for it. Exactly. We're just going to roll out this CBDC as well. Separate thing entirely, not linked. But then, you know, I don't know, there's some type of climate crisis event. And, oh, you know, now you need that carbon score and you want to take that flight. Well, actually, you can't take that flight, but we can take our private jets. It's just...
And the whole idea of money expiring is like, it's actually counterintuitive to the whole ecological thing. So like I consider myself an environmentalist, and I'm not a climate alarmist, because that's a completely different camp. But I'm an environmentalist. I want a clean environment. I want to be able to go hiking, and I don't want trash everywhere. I want nice clean air. I want to have nice clean water from our creeks and our rivers and all that stuff. And the way we do that is with sensible regulation on industry and sensible regulation with garbage disposal and all these things, right? That's fine. That's fair. That's lucid and not crazy. So, but then, you know, they go so far with this, and they go to like a completely other level. It's at what point does everybody push back and say, no? Like, no, we can't do this. At what point are we risking everything? We're risking our economy. We're risking, what I was getting to here was the point that CBDCs, if they expire, you're encouraging consumption now instead of savings. The whole idea of conservation, the conservation of the environment. I mean, you and I both know economics very clearly. And there's a lot of people out there that don't see what economics actually is in a nutshell. And I think that's a good way of putting it to people, is to say that, well, economics is really just a measure of what resources are available, how fast we're going to consume them, how fast we're going to allocate those to other things, and how much of it's going to stay in the ground and be equity for some owner for future consumption. But what we're doing is, with all of this stuff, we're doing the absolute opposite of ecology and conservation. We're encouraging consumption in the here and now, and forget about the future. Just get it, chew it up, swallow it, poop it out, and don't think about it.
Yeah, and I think when you do stuff like that, when you have money that expires, you actually encourage the opposite. So even though you're encouraging consumption, what you'll actually have as one of the unintended consequences is people want to actually save, because people are actually worried about their money expiring, funnily enough. So you get things like gold. And I don't even believe, like, the currency, the paper that we use, I don't even believe that's real money. Like, I only believe that gold and silver, they're the true real forms of money, and they've stood the test of time. These fiat currencies that have only been around like hundreds of years have really not stood the test of time. And there's fiat currencies that are coming and going constantly, and literally they're constantly going down in value as well. Our dollar is constantly going down in value. I mean, a record pace right now compared to the past.
Well, that's what inflation is. But that's all inflation is.
Yeah, exactly. And they want more inflation, and they always say 2%, and people say, yeah, 2%, but your wages aren't growing at 2%. Most people's wages aren't going up that quickly. They're not getting a rise of 8% after 4 years, but they think, 2% a year, that sounds reasonable. But yeah, reasonable in a reasonable economy. We have a massive financial bubble and a government that's out of control. And between the government and the financial bubble that we have, there's not much of an economy left compared to what we had like prior to 2008 and the lead up to that. So it's kind of crazy where we're at right now.
So what's the, like, what is the valid, or is there a valid argument for against deflation? So in the turn of the 19th century, it was a deflationary environment in North America. I mean, the prices of everything was coming down. And I know that they'll say like, well, people won't invest in anything if the prices come down, or people will hold off and they won't consume because they'll do that. I know a lot of people are like, yeah, I want that price to come down, but I want that thing now. I mean, at the end of the day, they want the thing. I mean, people will forego thousands of dollars to have it in the here and now by borrowing and paying interest rates on the thing. So what's the real valid argument? Is there a valid argument for why deflation is a bad thing?
Well, I mean, when you think about it, like, so for instance, computers have come down in cost a lot since they were first introduced. I mean, I wasn't like even buying the first computers that were out, but I know they were way more expensive than they are right now. And we can probably all agree that the innovation of computers has gotten better and better and better over time. And part of that has probably been because prices have come down and it's become more accessible. So I think the argument of deflation, saying that, you know, companies won't invest, is kind of nonsense, because as prices come down, you're opening that market up to more and more people, in my opinion. So then you can get more and more. And if there's a return on investment, then investors are always going to invest. If you have a healthy economy and people can make a return, they're going to make a return. And it doesn't matter where interest rates are. That's another thing. Like, a lot of people say, oh, interest rates are really high right now, but historically they're actually quite normal, probably on the low side. But, you know, if you can make a 20% return, Clyde, suddenly 5% interest rates don't matter to you. If you're borrowing money, you're making 15%, you know, if it's over a couple of years or whatever, that's a fairly decent return, even with inflation factored in. So it's all based off the returns, I think, that you get in the economy. And the problem is we have so debt-loaded economies, and we've got, between, you know, mortgage debt and the government, we've just got so much debt. I mean, mortgage debt surpassed the entire GDP of this country this year, which just baffles me. I mean, people think government debt is bad in this country. Mortgage debt is much more than that. I think government debt is around 1.4 trillion. Yeah. And now mortgage debt's over 2.1 trillion. Which is just ridiculous. So everybody's in so much debt right now, and that's the chokehold on our economy. And the only way we get out of this, unfortunately, isn't a debt jubilee. That's not going to be the way that we get out of this thing. It's through how every other crisis in the past, when we've had this happen, like during the 1930s, where essentially you need deflation to happen. That needs to happen, and you need people to deleverage, and that means people default on loans, and that brings on a lot of hard times.
Well, that's, I mean, that's a very nice way of saying everybody in the housing market needs to lose their shirt. Like, essentially, that's
yeah.
That, I mean, at the end of the day, just like not sugarcoat it, really what it is that there was a giant malinvestment. When you muck with an economy, say you come in and you give some artificial sprinkling of whatever in the economy, you put a fishbowl in the river, you know what I mean, with the goldfish, it's gonna muck stuff up. And what happens is it creates these market signals that tells people to go in places that shouldn't be going. And essentially, like, it's not written in the stars that central banks should be setting the interest rates. Like, that is just not how it works. Interest is a market function on how much savings is available in the market. So how much savings is out there becomes the price mechanism for how much you cost to borrow. How much, you know, there's a lot of people that want to borrow, and if there's not enough savings, it's really high interest rates. And if there's too many people saving, then the interest rates will go down until you find equilibrium. It's a price and, you know, simple supply and demand curve. But when central authorities come in and they say, no, we're going to make the interest rates super low by adding liquidity to the market, because that's the only way they can do that. It creates a false sense of where people should go with their investment. So all these people have gone into the housing market, malinvested, bid the prices up, so it created a frenzy. So a lot of people are like, holy cow, I don't even need a job. All I need to do is buy a house and then sell it next year, and I make on average about 150 grand a year, you know. Like, what is that? It's craziness is what it is. And all these realtors are telling people, yeah, no, this is normal. This is a normal economy, and getting people tied into more of this stuff. Now the market flips, interest rates go up because they have to, because it needs to correct for everything else going up in price, because of how crazy it's getting. And everybody needs to lose their shirt. And then who do you blame? Who do you blame in this? Do they ever blame the central bank that caused the problem in the first place? No. They blame the lenders, or they blame this or that, the banks. The banks a lot of times have their hands tied. Right now, did you know that Chrystia Freeland's new plan, they actually made it
the mortgage charter?
I don't know about the starter, but they have a new...
No, the charter.
Oh, the charter. Yeah. So
yeah.
They have a rule where they're just waiving the stress test. So they're renewing people's mortgages without even seeing if they're capable of paying them.
Well, and that's happened for a long time, Clyde, because I know a lot of people who work on the inside of banks, and they don't even check people's credit. And people might say that's a great thing, but you know, if you're not checking people's credit when you're renewing a loan, that is just completely absurd. But this is where we've got to in these times, and people just think this is normal. If you go out and ask any person with a mortgage and say, like, are you getting a credit check on renewal? They'll go, no, I don't think I've got a credit check. I mean, most of us have like the, TransUnion reports or whatever. So if we have a credit check because of identity theft and stuff like that, we get a notification. So we're all aware of what's going on with our credit, hopefully. And basically, it just doesn't happen in the banks. They haven't been doing it. Prices have been running up, and it has just caused more and more moral hazard in the banking system. And then you've had the government, because the government has played a massive role in this for a long time with the CMHC, because, if you're allowing governments to insure loans, you've got both the insuring of loans, which the government does, and they've done it for even so if they sold an uninsured mortgage prior to 2016, if they sold an uninsured mortgage, the bank could just go to the CMHC and insure it, even though the person hadn't paid for it. The bank could pay for it, and they did. That's what they would do with all of their loans, because they were like, well, this is great. The government's just stopping us. We'll pay that fee happily, because it's a much lesser fee than if that person defaults, goes into foreclosure or whatever. And it just creates moral hazard in lending. And that's what we've had happen. And this has just allowed the system to just leverage upon leverage upon leverage upon leverage itself. I mean, a lot of people say about housing supply, and I hear the realtors talking about this nonstop, and it drives me absolutely nuts, because it's supply and demand. That is simple economics. It's not just a supply market, it's a supply and demand market. So where's the demand coming from? Oh, it's 80% speculation. Okay, well, I think we have some type of demand issue as well then. It's not just purely we're not building enough homes. And that's all the politicians across the board. You hear say that constantly. If we just build homes, we'll just build our way out of this problem. And it's like, no, there's far bigger problems in the system that you just cannot solve with building homes. And part of that problem is just the allowing of people to just lever up upon leverage up. And it's pushed out first-time home buyers. And the Canadian dream of owning a home has just, gone off over the hills and into the sunset, essentially.
Dude, the Canadian dream of renting a home is gone. I mean,
well, yeah, exactly. We hit a new rental high or whatever every single month, it seems.
Absolutely. New records every month. And it's not like they're building new places anyway. They keep saying we just got to build new places. All they're doing is arranging startups. Like there are no shovels in the ground. There's no hammers to boards. In fact, last summer the construction industry across Canada fired 70,000 construction workers in the housing industry. They got rid of them because there wasn't enough work being done. And this is indicative of a lot of the problems with the market. I mean, when you have a market and in that market you have prices that are the highest they've ever been. Everybody knows it's speculated high, and we're all just waiting for the crash. And we have a bunch of people just waiting there going, I'm not going to build. I'm not going to build a house. Have it cost me $70,000 just for this is the average red tape just to get the permits, the permission from the government to build a house. 70 grand is the average. And then you got to buy all the lumber, which is at ridiculously high market rates. Labor is going up. I mean, not enough to actually make do for all this stuff, but labor is expensive because you're talking about skilled labor. These are, these aren't, people, journalists, doing TikTok videos. These are people swinging hammers. They want to get paid. And it's not adding up. It's not adding up, and these investors are looking at it going, why? Why would I build a house? This is stupid. Like, it's dumb. I'm going to get into some other business.
Yeah. Well, there's no return on investment, right? And that's why they're not doing it. And I mean, the thing is, this is exactly like what happened before 2008 in the US. You had new construction that absolutely collapsed, and existing home sales continued on, and everybody thought, okay, this is just new construction, and then that fed into existing home sales. And we're seeing exactly the same thing play out, which is kind of scary, but not surprising when you really think about it, because it's a bubble compared with a bubble for different reasons, but still a bubble.
Well, I mean, it's so similar. Like the similarities are just uncanny. And it's funny because I remember in 2008 how the Canadian market fared pretty well, and everybody was bragging, well, because we have a balanced budget, and our lending standards are a little bit more stringent, and we went down the road. We were just like, get rid of that. Let's make a buck, everybody. Let's do it. It's like the Canadians were handed the formula how to screw up massively, but make a bunch of people rich in the process.
Well, yeah, I just saw the banks are writing like 9% bonuses for executives right now. You've got like 20% of their loan portfolio negatively amortizing at most of these big banks. And they're writing themselves off bonuses for 9%. And nobody says anything about that because you got the people like the government who focus on like the grocery stores, for instance. And they're like, oh, look at these nasty grocery stores. But it's really like, look at the banks. They are robbing you blind. And nobody's noticing that. Nobody's pointing that out.
But they're doing it legally. They're doing it in a way where they're laughing because they're like, okay, this is going to dry up fast. Let's get in there and take it. Like, let's just have it. I mean, what is even the thought process behind people like Jagmeet Singh when they go after the? I mean, it's the classic, socialist. Let's blame the rich capitalist trope, right?
Yeah,
But I mean, so his argument is that Canada's grocery giants, the grocery store, big time grocery stores. There's not a lot of small grocers anymore anyway. All the small ones have been largely weeded out. But so his argument is that because they've made more profit every year, that they're somehow being nefarious in some sort of way, while also also ignoring the fact that inflation's gone up massively. So profit margins, profit margins just numerically, like in a nominal way, you would expect them to go up. And then also there's 500,000 more mouths to feed every year in this country. You'd think they would sell some more food.
Yeah, that's true. It's a necessity. Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it's completely ridiculous. And when I see people like Jagmeet Singh, I'm just like, oh my God. I mean, I saw he came out after they posted that full economic statement, which was more deficits. And he said, this is barely a budget. Where's the massive budget that you promised? Like, he wants more spending. So it's obvious that this guy actually, you know what? To his credit, I think that he does understand the economics of it, and he just pretends like he doesn't understand the economics of it.
He's just a crook.
You don't have to. Yeah, he's just a crook. I mean, he's from the World Economic Forum. We know that he's young global leader of the world. So he's been through their indoctrination program. And God, this is who we've got at the top in Canada. It's just like, I mean, the regulators are run by banksters themselves. So, I mean, that says it all of what you're going to have when you have banksters running the regulatory bodies like the OSFI.
Well, there's that old economics adage. What is it? When you regulate a market, the first thing to be bought and sold in that market's the regulator.
I haven't heard that one actually, but that's a good one.
Absolutely, it's the bureaucrats. They're for sale, first and foremost, every time. So that the politicians will pass the law, but then as soon as it goes, I mean, we're looking at this right now with the Bill C-18. So Bill C-18 it becomes a law, and then they're like, okay, what does this mean? I don't know. The regulators will take care of that. What? I thought you had a plan in mind here. No, we just kind of want to screw with the news industry. That's all. We don't know where it's going to go from here. It's unbelievable.
Exactly, yeah. And now I saw that Google now is going to pay all these legacy media companies like close to $100 million or something, or over $100 million, I think it was, because of that.
I heard it was exactly $100 million. That's the from Bloomberg.
Jeez, wow.
Bloomberg so, but this is the thing. Rodriguez, Kenny Squanders, I call him. He was counting his chickens months ago before they hatch. He used to be the heritage minister. It's now Pascal Stange. And but he was saying that they were counting on $300 million just in the first year, and now Google comes in and says, "Listen, here's $100 million off. Like, get out of here. Go away." Essentially, that's what happened. They said, "Here's $100 million. Go away, and don't regulate us." And essentially that's what they did. Now they're going to try to dole this out between the CBC and CTV and all that. And, there's going to be a lot of bureaucrats with lined pockets over this whole thing. But that's exactly how these regulations go. And then, I mean, these unintended consequences, I love the term you use, moral hazard, because I just absolutely love that term. Because this is where it comes in. They wanted to make more news available for Canadians, so they say. And there's two ways to comply to this regulation: pay up, like pay your racket fees, or ban news from your website. And that's what Meta decided. They're like, okay, we're just gonna go with the free option and just not have any news on our website.
I know, it's just absolutely crazy when you really think about that. And then simultaneously they're trying to, they have brought through Bill C-11, and you've got that happening, which is going to be more regulating like the streaming services, things like platforms that we're on right now. So I mean, that and then the Bill C-18 as well together, it just doesn't seem like a good thing to me. It seems like they're trying to push more that legacy media back down people's throats, even though that's not what people want. And this is, again, technology. So technology's advanced. People get their information from multiple sources right now. And that's a good thing, in my opinion. And they're trying to narrow it down to just their sources because they want people to think in particular ways.
Yeah.
Sad.
I find it funny though and this is what gives me hope is they're too stupid to write regulation that will actually do what they want it to do. Because
that is so true. Oh, that is so true.
So like the unintended consequences of this is news is banned. Trudeau spent however many hundreds of millions into the billions of dollars to try to indoctrinate the public and put out, you know, fake news to everybody and basically like, just tell everybody a bunch of BS. With propaganda. He wasn't able to propagandize people because he wrote a piece of legislation that got his news organizations banned from people's feeds. I think that's fantastic. They went ahead and with Bill C-11, part of the regulation now is that podcasts are going to be regulated and they're going to have to register.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look into it, it's only podcasts that make more than I think $10 million in a fiscal year. Now, personally, I think that the reason why they put 10 million on that number was first they could go after the big podcasters like Joe Rogan, but now that it's a number, numbers are arbitrary. So that line is written, and all they have to do is come in and amend that and change that number anytime that they want, and then they don't have to re-amend the entire piece of legislation, and then they can just come in and say anything more than $10 a year, and then now everybody can be regulated, and that's kind of their play, in my opinion, anyway. But let's get to some of these super chats here. So. Robert McFallon for $5 says, how do you feel living in David Eby's dystopian market hellscape? Well, yeah, it's scary. It definitely is scary. It's getting back to that the unexplained wealth hoarders. I mean, they're gonna come here. I don't know. I'm terrified of that. Eat Me for $5 says, please provide the kids Tylenol shortage. Oh, please prove the kids Tylenol shortage was a language labeling issue since the U.S. also faced the same shortage. Well, what I read was the fact that the U.S. had plenty of it. They couldn't ship over the border at the time when there was a Tylenol shortage. And the reason stated was because, and I had several articles. I don't have them at my disposal right now, but when I reported on it, I had several articles saying that the reason, and these were at the time, the reason we can't get these shipments that are right there in the United States is because they don't have French labeling on them. And that's a lot of fun for us Canadians over here when we need something. Northern Perspective, great friends of the channel, for $5 says, hey, Clyde, the grocery stores all made all their profit off of drugs and beauty products, aka the shortages of everything. Grocery margins haven't changed. Okay, they haven't changed. They're making money by getting into new markets. Good for them. Good for them. I hope they make great money. I hope they make great profits. I hope any business that operates in Canada does well, despite all of the efforts from the Canadian government to make sure they don't. Dan Ragogna for $10 says, speaking of housing, all I hear is that we need more people in the skilled trades, and then they want experience. How can the government help young Canadians or Canadians get experience? Now, I'm in the trades, and apply. Like, show up to the best way to get experience is to show up to a job site with hard, like, boots. You know, steel toe boots. If you're trying to get into carpentry, have a tool belt with a hammer, some of the usual things that you're gonna need, and just show up. If that site doesn't hire you, go to the next site. Go to the next site. Go to the next site. We don't have applicants at my auto garage where I work. I turn wrenches for a living, and we just don't have applicants. Everybody's hurting for mechanics. my shop happens to be doing very well because we have a great atmosphere and everybody wants to work at our shop in town. And all the other shops are like, how you guys do it? It's we treat people good. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard to get employees. If you have a good work ethic, you are gonna have no problem getting a job. People will teach you. That's really what it comes down to. There is no shortage of that. What say you, Luke?
Yeah, I would say exactly the same thing. Apprenticeships are like the best thing for getting into skilled trades and everything like that. You've got to get the hands-on experience. Going to college and university and all these different things is not good. Apprenticeships are the best way. That's how I became a mechanical engineer, was through an apprenticeship program. And yeah, I thought that was great.
It's definitely the way to go. I find that, like, I hear so much about people getting these useless degrees and then they go to work.
Oh yeah.
They go to work, and in those fields, that's where they're saying you need to have experience. We won't hire you if you don't have any experience. And it's like, exactly. Well, okay. Then what? So people go into these unpaid internships and they owe all this money in student loans. They can't afford to pay their rent. If you can even find a place, and then the price of food is going through the roof. How are you going to get a job? Your best bet is get into the trades, honestly. And like I said, you don't have to have a ton of experience to get in the door. Walk into a shop. Don't go to job fairs if you want to get into the trades. Nobody cares about job fairs. We don't do job fairs. We don't. I don't even think we even put out ads. We just wait until somebody walks in, and when somebody walks in, we'll hire them. Like, that's it. It really is that easy. Don't be shy. Go shake hands. For all the kids out there that are like nervous about it, suck it up, Buttercup. Go get over your shyness. Walk into shops and just say, I want to work. Work for a week for free if you have to. I would do stuff like that when I was younger. Yeah, I would go and I'd say, I'll do it for a week for free. And if you like what I'm doing, I'll stick around. And if you don't like it, send me home. Whatever, it's better than nothing at the end of the day. It really is. But yeah, I can't say enough about the trades. College is such a big waste of time, effort, and we're scamming immigrants with it right now. The prices are bid up because they think they call it a lucrative business now, putting people through the higher education system to get them into essentially no work situations. All of the, what is it, like coding and all of that stuff, that's all being farmed off to other countries, if not being taken up from AI. What's your opinion on this AI and it taking over people's jobs?
Yeah, I mean, well, let's look at like, when people say AI, I kind of always think of like, I don't know why, self-checkouts. And I think what a great job self-checkouts do. I'm joking, obviously, like self-checkouts are the worst thing ever. So, and I kind of just think, are we going to replace everything? I mean, all AI has to be programmed by humans initially. I think AI is just another bubble, essentially. Might even be the next big bubble. If there's going to be a next big bubble, hopefully there's really not. But yeah, AI is just another bubble, in my opinion, just another buzzword. But yeah, I mean, because the thing is, like, the company I work for, we've been using AI stuff for years and years now, and it's for like support tools and different things. And I mean, to see it just all of a sudden come to the front in 2023 just seems bizarre when it's been around for such, like, why now? But anyways, it's the buzzword of the time, I think.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the World Economic Forum types. So like, yeah. Right now every generation, I feel, has to have their like Karl Marx idiot that comes in with this like meme of an idea that's like so simplistic and people can get on board with it. But at the end of the day, you implement it and it's absolute nightmare. Like it's starvation across the board. Klaus Schwab is that idiot, right? He's this guy, he's self-important, thinks he reckons himself like a godlike intellect, right? And he's come up with basically Marxism plus robots. This idea of the resource-based economy, or whatever it is. What does he call it? Stakeholder capitalism, where
that's it.
AI is going to take over all the things. Yeah, the fourth industrial revolution. So AI is going to take over everything, and they're hashing up old arguments that were bunk in the first place. You know, during the agrarian revolution, when agriculture industrialized, we had 80% of the population working in the farms, toiling in the fields. And overnight, it was like 2% of the population, or 4% of the population. And they're like, what are we going to do with all the useless eaters and all these useless people? And it turns out those people weren't useless. They were just freed up to do all kinds of other things with their time. And they invented entirely new economies. And it was great. And it benefited all of us. But here we are again with this naysayer, Klaus Schwab, and his ilk, that say, we're going to have another class of people that are going to be completely useless. What are we going to do with them? We need to call them, or whatever he's advocating for. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, and I like to hear yours, what I think people are going to do is just find another avenue. And you're going to invent brand new economies. I mean, whoever thought that talking to each other on the internet was going to be an economy in like 10 years ago?
Yeah, that's true, actually.
Right? But there's definitely a market for this. We're fulfilling this in this market, and here we are doing it. So what are all the useless eaters going to do in the future, Luke?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at all the people, who were replaced by self-checkouts, you've now got people just watching those self-checkouts because they need to be monitored because they're so great. They're just so fantastic. So I don't know, maybe we'll just need lots of people to actually monitor the AI to make sure it doesn't get out of hand. I mean, I haven't seen that new movie. I don't know if you have, about that AI, but I thought that would be interesting to watch when it comes out to stream. But, you know, maybe it's going to be like the iRobot movie where the robots just all come to kill us. They find out what human life is like, and then they're like, hold on, this doesn't compute. Let's kill everybody. But I think like the Klaus Schwab types that are their whole idea is literally like to cull people. It's literally like the Club of Rome cult and the Marxist cult. But the thing is, like Klaus Schwab and Bill Gates and all these types, they do it in a certain way where it's like, you know what, we're just going to transition to this green energy, this new green revolution. It's not going to be a green revolution. It's going to be less energy, which means the population of the earth would go down. And it also means economies would go down, is basically what they're proposing, because they're proposing less energy consumption. And when there's less energy consumption, the population goes down.
I think we'd all be better off if there was less of them.
Yeah, well, them first. That's what I say. You go first. Why? Oh, it's just absolutely crazy that these guys are out there and they talk. I mean, Bill Gates has literally talked about it as well before, that the population needs to go down. And this guy's bringing out all these different drugs and different things. I wouldn't take anything that he said he was giving out. I mean, even packages delivered by drones now in places in Africa. Crazy.
And there's a lot of actually like smart people that got wrapped up in all of this. I worked with a guy who, I asked him, you know, are you ever going to have kids one day? He says, no, I'm not going to do that. We have too many people on the planet, and there's too many dumb people, and they're doing dumb things and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, if you reckon yourself smart enough to realize this, don't you think it would be beneficial to keep you in the gene pool? And he's like, well, I never thought about it that way. I never, huh?
That's very, you turn the tables on him.
Yeah, right? I don't get the mentality. Have kids, be fruitful, prosper, get out there and do your thing. I'm going to hit a couple more super chats and see what people are saying here. Dan Ragogna, again with another $10 super chat, says, speaking of housing, all I hear is that we need more people in the skilled trades and hold on. I already read that one. We need to hit the refresh. I need to hit the refresh. What am I doing here? Reading these again and again. They're not popping up. Oh, I'm just going to have to read through this. Summer says, for $13.99, my nephew is studying to be a mechanic in the Philippines. Nissan have apprenticeships like an apprenticeship-like program where they hire the best mechanics and speak Japanese. He was working on a Japanese car today. Wow, that's actually really interesting. That's cool. In the Philippines, speaking Japanese. Eat Me with the $5 super chat. Clyde, even the Daily Mail reported the shortages in the U.S. Sending a link in the chat. Please read it. It hit Canada first, then the U.S. Okay, well, we'll have to duke that one out later when we get more information on that story. And if I was wrong about a story, yeah, I would like to be corrected on that. That's absolutely for sure. But Luke, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I know you're on vacation right now, are you not?
Well, I'm working, so I'm down here in Mexico. Tomorrow I'm heading out to Guadalajara, but I've been working between the beach and working.
That sounds like it sounds grueling. I'm sure it is.
Got to get away from that Calgary, that miserable Calgary winter, although I heard it hasn't been so bad recently.
Well, I don't blame you whatsoever. I'm in British Columbia, the nicest place in the winter time to be in Canada, and I'm still jealous of you down in Mexico. So Luke, I want to thank you so much. Stick around. I'm just going to end the stream here. And I want to thank everybody for joining in the stream tonight. Big thanks. I hope everybody was entertained. I had my little freak out earlier about the French in Canada, and we all had fun with that. But big thanks. I'll probably see everybody over in the Discord later. If you're not a member of the Discord, the link is in the description down below. We'll have Luke on again for future episodes for sure. So everybody, big warm welcome to Luke, first time on the channel, and we'll see you guys all in the next one. We'll see you on Monday morning. Hopefully you all will be there after this brutally cold weekend that we're all going to suffer without you, Luke. Thanks again for joining.